Hey guys, it's Goldie, and today I'm finally starting that Sims 4 Let's Play that I've been talking about forever. I'm really excited to share this with you guys because it has been on my mind for literal years, but I am creating my own Sims 4 challenge that is going to help you and I explore all of the expansion packs in a way that I haven't really seen done before. In this video, I'm going to go over all of the rules and the details of the challenge that I have come up with so far, and that will help you follow along with this video series and help you try it out for yourself if you're interested. This challenge was born of the fact that I have bought almost all of the Sims 4 DLCs, but I probably haven't touched even half of them because I just get so caught up in my habits and the patterns that I have in the way that I play. It's really frustrating. It's like, why did I buy all these packs, right? Also, I have been playing The Sims since it came out in 2000 when I was just a little 10-year-old. So The Sims will always hold a special place in my heart. Unfortunately, the franchise is going in a direction that I'm pretty unhappy with, and I feel like maybe some of you can relate to that as well. If we're being real, The Sims 4 is objectively the worst installment in the series. The Sims 1, 2, and 3 were so much better as far as actual gameplay and character, and I don't know, they just had a certain spark that The Sims 4 is lacking. And there are reasons for that I'm not going to get into in this video, but my opinion is that we need The Sims 5, and unfortunately that is not happening in the foreseeable future because who cares what the customers want, right? But I'm not gonna go into that rant today. Maybe that'll be a different video. In any case, it is what it is, so I want to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth out of the money that I've already spent on this game. And I do believe there's still value to be had here. So I'm creating this challenge that's going to force me to explore all the different features of all the different packs within the framework of like a story for each generation, kind of in the same style as the Not So Berry challenge, if you're familiar with that. But my end goal is basically to 100% the game as much as humanly possible. Because how do you 100% a life simulation game? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but we are going to try. So basically each generation will focus on one expansion pack and one or two game and stuff packs. And you'll have goals related to playing with all the new features that came in those packs. All right, so I'm going to show you an example of what I have so far. So far, I've only made the general rules and the overview for generations 1 and 2. I have an idea of generations 3 and 4, but I haven't laid all of them out yet because that would be a lot to do all at one time, if we're being honest. And I kind of want to do this by trial and error because sometimes it can sound like a good idea, but then when you actually get into the game, certain things take longer than you expect or just don't work out the way that you expect. So I want to test out this challenge before I make any of the rules official. That being said, I am going to post what I have so far on my Tumblr and my Discord for those of you who are interested in following along. But as of the time of this video, I only have generations 1 and 2 laid out, so just a disclaimer there. So first of all, we just have the general rules, no cheating, and then kind of the guidelines as far as how you can make Sims, how babies can join the family, how to choose your spouse, completing the build challenges, stuff like that, just general stuff. I'm not going to go into all of the general requirements that I made for the challenge, but I did want to point out two that I think are the most important. And that is that, first of all, this challenge is mostly made up of requirements, not restrictions. For example, just because you're not required to have a dog in Generation 1 doesn't mean that you can't have one. The same goes for like romantic relationships, marriages, unless if it's specified of you have to get married or you can't get married. Like that type of stuff is up to you so that you can make each generation your own. I really want this to be a very customizable challenge where you can play the game the way you want to play it within the structure of the story, if that makes sense. The other thing that I think is the most important, as I put here, is that the challenge is meant to help you explore the packs. So take your time and explore each aspect and activity as much as possible. Let yourself kind of sink into this world that you're creating and the story that you're creating and the characters that you're creating, rather than just checking off boxes of a challenge, which I am so guilty of doing that. I'm a big legacy challenge player and I'm all about the points and the scoring. I will make spreadsheets, like I'm all about it. But I think that can sometimes be my downfall because I'm not allowing myself to really enjoy the game and create those stories and create the whimsy, if you will, because if we're being honest, The Sims 4 doesn't give us a lot of whimsy and charm that they used to in the other earlier games. So we have to create a little bit of that ourselves. And I think it's fun sometimes to just let our imagination out of its cage a little bit. So those are my two main takeaways from the general rules, but you can read through the rest of them. As I said, this is going to be on my Tumblr and on my Discord, and both of those links will be in the description below. So I'll give you an overview of Generation 1 just so you get an idea of the layout of how this challenge will work. So for Generation 1, we'll be focusing on the Get to Work expansion pack, the Outdoor Retreat game pack, and the Moschino stuff pack. And the little summary blurb that I created says, a young married couple move into Magnolia Promenade to make a name for themselves. One is an aspiring entrepreneur hoping to open their own bakery while doing freelance photography on the side. The other is a detective who loves the outdoors as much as he loves justice. So you'll get a little summary of kind of the background of what the generation is going to be about and a little bit of lore that gives them some character and a purpose, basically. Then there's going to be 4 sections in each generation: cast requirements, gameplay goals, build goals, and children. The cast requirements will tell you the aspiration and the traits that you have to choose for the characters that are going to be in that generation and kind of what their main role is going to be. As you'll notice here, I only included 1 required trait for all of the characters in this generation, and that's because all of the packs in this generation, Get to Work, Outdoor Retreat, and Moschino stuff, they only came with 1 trait. And that was from Outdoor Retreat, and it was the Squeamish trait. Like, literally, there were no traits in the Get to Work pack. In fact, there were no aspirations in the Get to Work pack either, which is kind of crazy. It was the first expansion pack that came out, and I guess they just put all of their resources into the careers and did not think about anything else. It's kind of it's been eye-opening digging into these older packs and realizing how different they are. If Get to Work was made nowadays, there would have been at least 3 different aspirations, and they all would have been tutorials for the different career paths, if we're being honest. But anyways, point of the story being, if an aspiration or trait comes with any of the packs for the generation, that will be a requirement. But if not, you get to choose your own, basically. I did a suggestion for the entrepreneur to be fabulously wealthy aspiration because that just makes sense in my opinion. But as far as like the other traits, you can choose them yourself and kind of create the character that you want to play with, which I think will be fun and allow a lot of customization for this challenge to make it your own. For the gameplay goals, each sim will have a list of things that they will need to complete, as well as a category for general goals that need to be completed by, either or both of the sims or all of the sims, whatever the case may be. And these gameplay goals are going to be related to new gameplay, basically, that came with the different packs. And I really dug into the different packs to try to find things that I didn't know existed. Like, for instance, in the Moschino pack, the freelance photographer skill, apparently you can make your own custom magazine cover, which I had no idea that was a thing, and I don't even know how to do that. But I read that that's possible, so I put it in as a gameplay goal because, as I said, the overall goal of this entire challenge is basically to play with all the gameplay that I didn't even realize that I had, Because in general, I feel like The Sims 4 isn't that strong on the gameplay aspect, so I'm basically trying to prove myself wrong on that point and be like, look at all this gameplay I didn't even realize was there. So yeah, any new feature that came with any of the packs, I'm going to probably put it in as a gameplay goal, make sure we're maximizing what we can get out of these packs. And then as far as build goals, this is something that I put in the general rules as well. Some people just really don't enjoy building, and I'm kind of one of those people, only because I feel like I'm not very good at building, but I try to force myself to get out of my comfort zone in that aspect when I can. So I will be doing my own builds for this challenge. However, if building is not your thing, you can just get a build off of the gallery that meets the requirements. I'm trying to make this challenge flexible for people who want more of a challenge or who maybe don't want to put in the effort to make their own builds. And lastly, the children's section is going to tell you how many children you need to have and any other specifications. For the most part, and I put this in the general rules, for the most part, it doesn't really matter how Sims come into the family, what gender they are, sexuality, like none of that really matters. Even how you have a baby normally doesn't matter, except in certain circumstances. For instance, for generation 1, I put that the heir must be male, and that's only because the second generation needs to have a baby by alien abduction, and at the time that Get to Work came out, I believe only male Sims could do that. I don't know if they've changed it since then. I couldn't really find any information about that online. There were some differing opinions. So just to be safe, I made that requirement just to make sure that the alien abduction will work. So yeah, outside of specific circumstances like that, it's going to be very open as far as the type of Sims that you can have in your family or create for your family or bring into the family. Now, I'm not going to go through the complete generation 2, but just to give you an idea of how the summary and the story part of it will work. For generation 2, I said the heir is a loner from a young age. He's always been more interested in books than human interaction. Romance has never been on his brain. Instead, he likes to focus on science and the stars. And that is because he's going to have his baby via alien abduction, because that's a feature of the Get to Work path that comes along with the aliens and the scientist career. As you may have noticed, generation 2, we're still on the Get to Work expansion pack, and that's because there was just too much content to fit into one generation without like completely overwhelming yourself. In my opinion, I don't think one lifetime would be enough to fit all of that content in, so I decided to just split it up into 2. Then his sibling has a passion for wellness and hopes to one day help others achieve physical and mental health. After exploring yoga and meditation in their teen years, they aim to become a doctor as an adult. So there we have the doctor career path from Get to Work as well. And as you'll notice in generation 1, I say you must have 2 children. That's because we need a sibling in order to complete all of this stuff. And I also mentioned that both siblings decide to stay home and take care of their aging parents instead of moving out right away. And this is because I need them to stay in Magnolia Promenade, because that is the neighborhood that comes with Get to Work. And that's another part of this challenge where the Sims are going to live in whatever neighborhood comes with the expansion pack or the game pack. So, you know, on generation 3, when we move on to a different expansion pack, those children will actually move to that neighborhood. And that's where, you know, another build challenge will come in to build a home with whatever money you have at that time. So I think this is going to work out great. Like I said, I haven't actually tested this out yet. I'm going to be kind of doing a trial and error with this and figuring out what works and what doesn't. So I'm really, really excited to get into it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to get me outside of my comfort zone. And I'm especially excited to share this with you guys. So if this sounds at all like something that you might be interested in, make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. And keep an eye out for the first installment in this video series coming sometime in the next week. We'll get an introduction to our generation 1 family and probably build our house as well. I can't wait. I hope you're as excited as I am. Be sure to leave a like on this video as well if you haven't already, and I will see you in a new video soon. Bye!